Hello, this is Wmpyr here to do a deep review of this knife right here. This is the Mantis Snaggletooth, so it's from Mantis Knives, designed by Morgan Thomas. Let me go through specs real quick. So the blade length is quite short. It's 2.37. The handle is 5.52. So you can see the big difference there between blade and handle. Overall length is 7.75 inches. The thickness of the handle is 0.62, so it's quite thick. And then let's see, the handle material this is the black G10, and I believe that is the only version that they ever produced. The other version was the black blade. So we have this, just the steel color, and then we also have the in black. I think they had a plain edge, and as you can see, this is a half serrated, half plain. And it is a liner lock, as you can see, so it's right here. It's just your standard liner lock. And the blade material is MVX. And you can see it's a pocket clip. It's for tip down carry. The pocket clip is reversible, so you could attach it over here, but it's for tip down carry only. There's nothing over here for the clip. The weight is 8.8 ounces, so it is quite heavy. And for a special feature, it has this button right here. So you can see it pops the ring out, and then I press the button, and then it releases to close it back in, and then there you go. Okay, so yeah, it has a flipper right there to help you deploy it, or obviously you could use the cutout here. This cutout supposed to be shark tooth, and the blade itself kind of looks like a shark tooth, and there are shark tooth designs cut out in the handle, which it looks cool, but it also feels functional, you know. So you have the whole shark tooth motif going on here. It's called the Snaggletooth. The Snaggletooth, by the way, is an actual shark. It exists. There is a shark called the Snaggletooth, and the upper teeth has serrations on it, and that's what it's, I guess, kind of known for. And so now, obviously, this is like kind of like the design is an obsession with sharks. Morgan Thomas is a martial arts instructor, and he invented the Sharky knife, which is a training knife that when you're training and you make a cut, it'll leave a mark, so then you know where you've been cut. So he invented that. So he invented the Sharky knife. So then it kind of, okay, so he's the kind of like the shark guy and the martial arts guy. So you could see that in here. So yeah, Morgan Thomas did a collaboration with Mantis Knives essentially to create this knife right here. Now the original price going for this, I believe, was like close to $200. May have in some cases surpassed, but that is just a suggested retail price kind of thing. When it starts off, it's extra high, and then I don't know how much later, but on eBay, I remember seeing these things for under $30. That's a big price drop. So kind of need to talk about that. What happened? And also when I went to the Mantis website, because I was super excited about this, and I enjoyed, looking at it on the Mantis Knives website. And then one day, I don't remember when, but years ago, all of a sudden it was completely removed. And just could not find any trace of this thing. So is that related to the price drop? Probably. So basically, I guess, I am assuming here, but you could assume that it was not popular. This knife was not popular, so hence the price drop. I don't know if Mantis Knives was embarrassed, so they removed it from the website. I don't know. Like I said, for me, this was something I had my eye on. I was really excited when they, showed this knife. And what happened? Well, I can only speculate that because you have a blade that's so much shorter than the handle that some people were very, very turned off by that. Some people have the idea maybe that if the blade is not close to the length of the handle, then you're being gypped, I guess, that you're not getting the most bang for your buck because after all, this is a knife. I don't think that way. There's a purpose here, a very specific purpose why the blade is so small, why the handle is so large. So once you understand that, then to me, not only is it not a problem, I like this and it's unique. And most folding knives, I think, will do the opposite, where they are trying to make it, as close to the handle length as possible to give you the most bang for your buck. So this is just a completely different way of thinking. But you have to understand the thinking. The other thing is this. This is Professor Bram Frank's trademark, the ramp, also called the Bramp, play of words with his name. So in this sense, this makes this knife a collaboration between Mantis Knives, Morgan Thomas, and Professor Bram Frank. So in a way, it's a triple collaboration. That's pretty cool. It's really a Morgan Thomas design, but this has, once again, Professor Bram Frank's input right here. Who knows, maybe there were more other suggestions and stuff, but this is obviously a Professor Bram Frank thing, the ramp. So this, how could this cause problems? Well, when people see this, they immediately think wave opening. Oh yeah, this will catch on the pocket, and when you pull it out on your pocket, you're going to deploy it like so. But then they take a close look and they see that the pocket clip is on the wrong side. To wave open, the pocket clip needs to be over here. So then people get upset by that. And they go, I want to wave with this thing, but the pocket clip doesn't, it's supposed to be here for tip up carry and it's not. So people, I think, were really, really disappointed there. And that's where, gotta tell you that this was not designed for the wave open. If you want a wave open knife, this is not it. This is actually a kinetic open knife. Kinetic opening knives are totally different from wave open knives, and I'll get into that. So people are disappointed right there. So two big reasons to be disappointed. And like I said, it's pretty massive. Honestly, it almost feels like a dinosaur of a knife in your hand. And I guess that could maybe, deter people. So anyway, why did Mantis Knives collaborate with Morgan Thomas? And we got to take a look at a typical, this is Mantis Knives right here. And you can see it's a karambit, very, very modern looking, very artsy and modern looking. However, it's a karambit, so it's not a fantasy knife. They wanted to make a tactical knife, but it looks very, like I said, artsy looking. So I think to add to the credibility, maybe, they contacted tactical knife designers, martial arts experts, people that teach modern and tactical self-defense kind of stuff. And so they also had Professor Bram Frank collaboration. So this is a Professor Bram Frank collaboration with Mantis Knives, the Malito Seco, which is a smaller version of the Seco knife, whereas I think it's pronounced Psycho, is what it said. And anyway, I don't know what it means. I thought Seco meant elbow in the Philippines, and I thought that's what it was, but who knows? I don't know the detail behind that. I need to ask Professor Bram Frank. But anyway, so it kind of makes sense that if Mantis Knives design this stuff, but they want in on the tactical community, that they would employ, you know, like Professor Bram Frank is very significant in the history of tactical knives, especially tactical folding knives. So I feel like, you know, it was a good idea for them to contact Professor Bram Frank and do a collaboration. And then another person was also Morgan Thomas, the inventor of the Sharkey training knives, that you could imagine just elevated realistic knife training big time. So these are significant knife people that Mantis Knives brought into do collaborations with. So they did that, and then unfortunately, people, I believe, didn't understand the genius, the brilliance in the design of this knife. So I think that's why it didn't do well, and that's why Mantis Knives was perhaps disappointed, because at the end of the day, they must have lost a lot of money, is my guess, producing this knife. So anyway, I had to talk about that, and that's your basic stats. Okay, so now let me talk about more. Let's go into detail with this knife. Okay, so first of all, maybe there's another reason for its unpopularity, for this knife's unpopularity, is the clip right here. Okay, the clip, as you can see, goes right there with the pivot. So basically this much, it'll sit in your pocket all the way up to here. So this much will be sticking out. And a lot of people with folding knives, it seems like a lot of people like tip up carry. For Professor Bram Frank, that's a no-no, because if it starts to open and you reach down to grab your knife, you could see you could cut yourself. So this way, if it starts to open for some reason, you come down, it's much, much safer. So he doesn't like the tip up carry. Plus, you grab it, you have this much sticking out, you grab it. To me, that's like you're going to deploy a sword. You're going to take out a sword, you unsheath it, you grab the hilt, you know, and you pull out. So this is like the hilt, the pommel area that you're pulling out. You get a nice grip, take it out, and boom, you're already in position. And that's the thing, you're going to use the knife closed. So anyway, because the pocket clip sits, it makes the knife sit high. That could be another reason why people don't like it, because people want concealed carry. They want a low sitting knife. And, you know, I wouldn't say it's about right or wrong. It's about what's your purpose. Do you want to hide your knife, or do you want easy access? You know, so in a pinch, do you want easy access, or do you want it like deep, 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 you know, concealed carry? So that's just two different things, whatever, you know, suits you. And for me, you know, if you understand the difference there, depending on the knife that you happen to have with you, in a self-defense situation, then you know how one is best used. You know how the other is best used. You just know the pros and cons. You know what it's for. You know how to use it. It's like a tank and a helicopter. You don't use it the same way. You can't say one's better than the other. They're different tools. So that's the way that I see it. So anyway, understanding that this sits high because you get a nice, good grip. Boom, you pull it out, use it closed. So anyway, I'm already getting into the next part where I'm saying you're going to use it closed. So when you pull this thing out, and that's the ramp. What is this for? If it's not for hooking onto the pocket as you pull it out, it's not for that. That's a wave opening. This is a kinetic opening. Then what is a kinetic opening? A kinetic opening is you pull it out of your pocket and don't worry about opening the blade, nothing. Just use it as is, like this, for self-defense. So in other words, this is a closed tool, right? You're using it closed, and it's actually not a knife because it's closed. There's no blade. You're using it like this. It is a non-lethal impact weapon or impact tool, self-defense, non-lethal impact tool. So here we go. This is the same idea. This is the kinetic opening, Professor Bram Frank's design right here. So you pull it out. This one sits even higher, on the pocket, as you can see, or slightly higher. And the pivot's totally different. The pivot screw right there is the Mantis Knives design pivot screw, you can see. But for Morgan Thomas, this one, I guess he wanted a more standard pivot screw, which I can appreciate. So anyway, we're going to have this much sticking out. Pull it out, grab it, and use it as is. Basically a Kubotan on steroids, a palm stick on steroids. And that's where people are, probably a lot of people don't get it. They go, I want a knife in a self-defense situation. That's why I'm carrying a knife. So I want the knife. I want the blade. Why would I use it closed? A lot of people don't understand that. And that is a knife-only point of view. So if you think from Professor Bram Frank's point of view, the kinetic opening, we're talking about a self-defense point of view, not just knife. We're talking about your martial arts skills, your combat skills. We're talking about using anything and everything to your advantage, whatever. And that is including the knife closed. And it makes sense if you look at it as, if you are in a self-defense situation, you probably didn't plan that. You woke up in the morning and you ended up for some reason in this bad situation. It wasn't planned. It happened. It sucks. And now you're trying your best not to become a victim. So it's chaos, right? So in this chaos, you're probably caught off guard. You're not really sure 100% what's going on. You're like, wait a minute, is this happening to me? Is this guy trying to do this to me? What's going on? So in this kind of chaos, when you're trying to figure things out, do you want to go lethal force right away? No, it doesn't make sense to do that. You go, I don't have a good feeling. I don't know what's going on. So, but you have your non-lethal self-defense tool, and you're ready in case something happens, in case, it gets real bad or whatever. And if it gets super bad, it's already in your hand, so you could easily deploy the blade. So that's the idea. You go non-lethal first, because that is just percentage-wise way more likely that you don't need to go lethal force. So in a confrontation, physical altercation, are you immediately going to go the most devastating, lethal force, assault rifle, or you know what, why stop there? Why not go bazooka, rocket launcher, intercontinental ballistic missile? Why not? right? Because it's not the right tool. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to just immediately drop the nuclear bomb. So you don't need to immediately go lethal force. And for a lot of situations, it's not even necessary. It's kind of like a pyramid where you really, really need lethal force is probably a small percentage. And most of the percentage is, fight off the guy a little bit and run. Or, just get ready and just run. You don't need to go lethal force. So it just makes sense to use this closed. And then if you use lethal force by accident, or like you thought this was happening and it wasn't the case, or you got a little too excited or a little too nervous or whatever, and you use lethal force, I mean, you could be in big, big trouble. That's life-changing. You could end up in prison. I mean, it's not a small deal. It's a huge deal, okay? So it just makes sense to start off non-lethal. So that is the idea behind kinetic opening. And like I said, if you need it, if you go, oh, this has turned bad, real bad, now my life is in danger, I need something really way more powerful than this, then boom, it's right there. And the idea is, yes, you could use your own finger like I've been doing, and that is what Professor Bram Frank showed, but the idea, why is this so much bigger than the wave? It's designed so you could hook on anything. So, you're being pinned against the wall or on the floor or whatever, and you're trying to defend yourself. If I got to hook this on the legs of a table, boom, I could hook this and my blade will be out. I could use the branch of a tree. I could use their belt. And of course, there's much, much nastier things that I could do that's not recommended because, once again, it could get you in tremendous lethal trouble. But if you want to talk nasty, you could hook their collarbone, you could hook their neck, you could fish hook their nose, the eye, the ear. This can hook onto all of that, and you could have very nasty results. So that's why it's not recommended. But I'm just saying, if you want to go nasty, it's perfectly capable, but that is not what this is about. It's nice large hook so that in a pinch, like I said, you could hook on the chair, you could hook on, whatever that's available, and hook and deploy the blade just to make things handy. So it's not limited to the pocket. The wave knife is very, very limited to where its sole purpose is you put it in your pants pocket, hooks on the pocket as you pull it out. This is the top of the pocket, the seam, and it deploys the blade. It's kind of a one-trick pony. That's it. I'm not saying that's bad, but it's all about speed, and that's what it's about. The kinetic opening views things more as a whole self-defense, because this is called the force continuum, is the mentality. So you're going from non-lethal to bringing out the blade. And so that takes us to the next point. Why is this blade so short, right, compared to the handle? That is because this Morgan Thomas wanted to go with something that was less than lethal. Okay, so he's going from non-lethal to less than lethal, and then of course you have lethal. That's the force continuum. We have three: non-lethal, less than lethal, and lethal. So he's saying that if you have to, in a self-defense situation, take out the blade, now the blade is out and you use it, you don't have to worry about accidentally killing the person because it is not long enough to reach an organ. Okay, especially if they have a jacket on and then you do have to stab to get them off of you, that you're not going to accidentally take out their organ and now, whoops, you murdered somebody. And all you were trying to do is trying to get them off of you. So this is still effective, but it protects you. It protects you legally, morally, spiritually, ethically, all that kind of thing by being a shorter blade. And people may not understand that because they think, well, a longer blade, the better. And in combat, pure combat, without consequences and all that, yes. And this is what I've said to you guys before. a karambit versus a Bowie knife in a duel, I'm putting my money on the guy with the Bowie knife because it's a longer blade. That's like saying a sword versus a knife. Of course, the sword's going to have the advantage, right? In a duel type situation. So that being said, the longer the blade, right, can get you in trouble. Because there are, in real life, there are consequences. It's not just that the duels are no longer legal. Okay. So in reality, realistically speaking, you want to protect yourself, and you want to protect yourself intelligently. You want to protect yourself legally. You don't have to abandon that and say, if I'm going to protect myself, I need to go lethal force. I need to murder the guy. And that's not true. It's not true. You don't have to go there. And situations like that are small. That's just a reality. Most of the time, it's not that way. So it makes sense that this is a shorter blade. It's very, very intelligent. In a way, maybe like I said, a lot of people probably not going to understand that. So a way that I could explain it maybe is kind of like, if you get people doing bare knuckle boxing and they're fighting each other, there's always the danger of breaking your hand off the guy's skull. So you have to punch with less force. Now, the moment you put on gloves to protect you, like boxing gloves or even MMA gloves, now you could punch with more abandon. So it's kind of like that. By making this safer, you don't have to worry about, oh, I might accidentally kill them. Oh, I might do this, I might do that. I don't want to hurt them too bad. I'll apply too much force, So by making the blade shorter and safer, you could really focus more on self-defense. So you could do more in that sense. So I kind of like to make that analogy there with the boxing. By actually protecting your hands, now you could focus more on just punching without worrying about breaking your hand. So it's kind of like that in a way. So now that I've explained kinetic opening, I can say that basically this folding knife, the Snaggletooth, you're getting a non-lethal impact tool and a knife, right? You're getting two tools in one. But you're also getting a modified karambit, so it's kind of a karambit. It's evolved. The blade isn't this way, it's the other way. So it's a modified karambit, and it is also a non-lethal karambit impact tool. So actually you're getting 4 tools in one, is kind of the way that I view it. So that's very, very interesting. Now, oh yeah, so this feature right here, Mantis knives, when they produced this knife, seemed very, very proud of this feature. They seemed like, man, we came up with something really cool. And I think they did. It's too bad that they never produced another knife, to my knowledge, that has this feature. I think they definitely said that they were going to make more knives with this, and I don't think they did. So that is unfortunate, because I think it is really cool. So, yeah, the fact that this knife that is so thick and heavy as a non-lethal impact tool, it really helps, especially the hammer fist this way, boom, boom. This really helps with that, making it, solid. And you could even go this way, solid. And then even the hammering right here, boom, 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 boom. But for this, I wouldn't go like that, where I'm putting in superpower. I mean, I feel like this is more smaller shots, okay? Down here is, made for a much stronger, powerful blow, but here to me is more like this, right on the bones, like someone bear hugs you, and then you right whack on their hands. You can also use to scrape. This is one of my favorites, is to do that, to scrape this way, that way. And you could do the same thing with the flipper. The flipper is very interesting because this flipper, on Professor Bram Frank's knives, as you can see, generally do not have a flipper. His latest one, just the recent one, has a flipper. But until then, the ones that I've seen, the ones that he's produced that I know of, they don't have flippers. So it was very interesting that Morgan Thomas made this flipper. So you have this side, you could, of course, this side too, and then you can scrape with this side as well. And then there are the famous finger locks where you get a finger and then you just do this. You kind of like go up, right? And then you're pulling it into the ramp and you're crushing it into the ramp. And then if you add an angle like that, oh, it's really brutal on the finger joint, okay? And it causes pain, and you can see the very aggressive jimping will help bite onto it, just hook onto the skin better so it won't slip out. And it's kind of like pliers, okay? That's what Professor Bram Frank has said. It's like a pliers right there. So you're getting the finger right into the pliers and you're smashing it in there. And like I said, you start adding angles, it gets even worse. You get into a finger lock, which is part of what Professor Bram Frank's teacher, Professor Remy Presas, taught as part of the lock flow, because I believe he got that from small circle jiu-jitsu, where the finger locks, devastating stuff. Like, so if you think a rear naked choke is awesome, which it is, it's very powerful and awesome, finger lock, you're talking about, some people have massive necks, very muscular, and I've been in grappling situations where I was like, I had the rear naked choke, and I was like, this neck, I'm not going to be able to finish them. Or a guillotine choke, and I'm like, the neck's just too muscular, too strong. I cannot tap this person out. Finger lock, I feel like I would have a much, much better chance. I've submitted people with finger locks that were, I remember one time I submitted a guy that was way, way bigger than me. I'm sure his neck was like that, but anyway. So just saying, finger locks are no joke. So the weight of the handle, the thickness and everything, it goes well. I like the thickness of the handle because when you're gripping it, I mean, you really feel a solid grip because it's thick and it gives a good grip. It's one of the best handles that I have felt. So in that sense, it kind of reminds me of what was it called? What is that knife called? Not the Warthog. Oh my goodness, I forgot the name. Oh, the Pygmy knife. I think it was by Spyderco, by Bob Taylor Design. That knife, I've never held one. I've always wanted to. Looked like it had an extra thick handle, and it looked mega comfortable. The knife that was one of the best handles, in my opinion, was the RBB, the Reality Base Blade, which I made a video like this, by the way, about the Reality Base Blade, where I kind of did a deep dive talk about just whatever I could talk about, as much as possible about that knife. That inspired me because I liked that. I made that video and I really liked how it turned out. So I wanted to do a similar video. So here I am doing a similar video, but with this one, the Snaggletooth knife. Anyway, that knife had an amazing handle. I love the way it felt. And this one too, really like the way it feels in the hand. The cutouts right here, the jimping and the little indent right there just for the thumb, or even up here, it feels great in the hand. I like it a lot. Now on top of that, you get this out. Of course, this is Morgan Thomas had explained that he didn't say that it wasn't for flipping, and I believe I made a video in the past where you can flip with this thing like a typical karambit, but he said that the purpose for this was grip retention. Okay, so less chance of dropping it. Makes sense. Okay, and some people have asked me about the karambit, like, can't they put you in a finger lock? Look, the bottom line for me is unless you're just not holding it right or you just have a weak grip or something, you're not taking it seriously, there's a much higher chance of you using this lock to put someone else in a finger lock than they put a finger lock on you. Okay, I believe that is a much, much higher percentage that you finger lock someone using this than they finger lock you. Okay, so I wouldn't even worry about that because I remember one guy years ago commented about the karambit ring, and they were very, very insecure about it for some reason. I guess someone had said you could get finger locked, and then they took that to heart, and it blew up in their mind. Look, the chances disarms are difficult as it is, and then to finger lock someone, very, very difficult. Using the ring, onto someone that has the knife, very difficult. Okay, me as the knife holder and putting you in a finger lock, like I said, much higher percentage. Okay, I think that's difficult too, but much higher is all I got to say. But anyway, before I really didn't like that this kind of curved down right here, and it's a guard. Okay, it's to protect, right? That's a typical idea, but I'm not in a sword fight, so I was like, I don't need this guard. And I didn't like that it like kind of locked my hand in here, as you can see. But now I can appreciate it because look at this. I'm not even holding it, but just because my fingers are here and here, see, I won't drop it because of that. So then what that means is when I'm gripping it, I can use that to help me grip it. And I don't need to exaggerate like this, but I could use that to help me grip it rather than really squeeze it. So then when you do that, it becomes more, as you can see, it becomes more a part of your hand. Really, it's more like a structure of your hand rather than me gripping it really hard and squeezing it. Okay, so when I squeeze it real hard, then it's not so much. You see, when I'm able to loosen up a little, just a little bit, you don't need to do this, but just a little bit loosen up, and use the sides here. Now it connects with my arm much more. If I grip it like this, then all the focus is on here, and it's not so much part of the body, if that makes sense. Okay, so now I can appreciate it. It's just something new, and the G10 feels great. Yeah, so in reverse grip, same thing. Without the grip or with the grip, no problem. Feels good. So I really like that. Here you could see I like the half serration there. I wish it was serrated all the way, personally. But no complaints. It's fine. I know Captain Fairbairn preferred a non-serrated knife. He felt that makes the wound worse. Now, you would think that a serrated knife would make the wound worse, but I don't know. I wish someone would test that out and show it. But that's what Captain Fairbairn said. And but those of you that have worked with serrated knives, that you've actually cut things with it, you see that it really snags on. It really makes cutting chores easier. So I personally like serrations, but plain edge, easier to sharpen. I see the benefits, and if it's sharp enough, then you don't need a serration. So, I like I said, to me, it's knowing the pros and cons of both, and just being able to maximize the usage because you understand the pros and cons of each. It's just a tool. So, you know, I like both. I like both. And half plain, half serrated. Yeah, I like that too. And I get it. They're giving you the best of both worlds kind of thing. So, and this part right here is jimping, heavily jimping, you know, for hooking on limbs and stuff. So, makes sense. Just push on a person, pin their arm and stuff like that. So there you go. So this is a liner lock, and Professor Bram Frank's knives are famous for the puzzle lock up here. So for people that don't understand, you know, you might think liner lock on the top instead of the bottom. That's one way to put it, but the mechanism inside is completely it's not the same because of the structure and how it holds into place, and when you apply pressure, how is it distributed? That changes things. So the puzzle lock is ultra strong. This one is not a puzzle lock. Like I said, it's a liner lock. And let's see, what else do I need to cover? Oh, the blade shape right here, you could see that it's short, so it's very snubby, but it's also fat. So yeah, kind of like a snub nose is a good way to maybe describe it. The way the knife that I remember was from Boker, designed by Chad Los Banos, is the Subcom folder. It reminds me of that blade, which that's a very nice knife. I like that knife. It's a small biscuit. It's called the biscuit folding knife, and it had a short, wide blade like this, but that was thinner, if I remember, much thinner. This one is not as thin, but very similar to me in profile. It reminds me of that because it's wide and thin, but yeah, that one felt a lot thinner. Okay, just getting that out there. So that kind of shape, which I do really like the shape of the blade. Very cool. I like it a lot. So because of this guard and this guard, you pretty much have a cross guard. So if you stabbed in, you know, your hand's not going onto the blade. You don't have to worry about that. And you got a nice solid grip, so you could put power into this, you know, this way or whatever, you know, whatever it is. It definitely feels robust. It feels like a tank. So I feel like this is a very underrated knife. Like, people don't understand this knife. You know, they just look at it as a weird, odd-looking knife. The ramp right here, like I said, people think it's for waving. They're completely wrong. That's not what it's for. And this knife was way ahead of its time. So that was probably another problem about this knife, that it was way ahead of its time. Today, finally, in recent times, people are appreciating Professor Bram Frank's knives more and more, that we have now some of the top tactical knife designers starting to implement this. Not the wave, but this, the ramp. So this was one of the first to do that with permission from Professor Bram Frank way back in the day. So yeah, this was, once again, way ahead of its times. You look at today, like I said, some of the top tactical knives, look at some Fox knives and stuff. They are starting to implement this, put this into their design, okay? Because it is, once again, to me, it was a no-brainer. I thought it was genius. Now, I get the wave knife. It makes sense. It's easier to understand, the wave knife. Why is that there? For speed, to take out the knife as fast as you can, for speed. It's a folding knife, but we're making the folding knife faster because fixed blade is faster, switch blade is faster. So now we're making the fixed blade, which was supposed to be one of the slowest, we're making it faster and faster. It was a natural evolution. So originally folding knives were like, pocket knives that you had that nail indent thing and you had to use two hands to open it. And now it's changed over time to where you could one hand open the thing. And there were ways to not make it a switchblade, and people called it spring assist or whatever. And then wave was another function to try to overcome to make the folding knife quicker. So that's what it is. People have been trying to do that for a long time, and that's one of the things. I even saw from, oh gosh, I forgot the name of the company, Tactical Response Solutions, TRS. TRS, they would make self-defense videos and stuff. They made a knife that was spring assist plus the wave, so to try to make it even faster. So like I said, that's just one of the natural evolutions that people have been working on since forever. This one here, the kinetic opening, once again, is a completely different idea, right? It's to link the force continuum. Now, to use a folding knife in the closed position, you could do with any folding knife, but it doesn't have the force continuum where you could go as easily from non-lethal to blade deployment. And that's where you could hook with this, or with your own finger, because you take it out and your hand's going to be right here because you're in a self-defense situation, like this. So boom, like that, you're ready to go. Okay, so that's the kinetic opening right here. It just makes absolute sense to me from a self-defense position. Now, from a speed position, the wave knife makes sense, but do I really need speed? And from my experiences, the situations that I've been in where it's like, oh, I think I need my knife. Every situation I've been in where I felt that way and I had to take out my knife or whatever, speed was never the issue. Just me personally, it's never been. Never happened to me. The wild, wild west, of speed draw. You're standing across from each other. Who could take out the knife or the weapon faster and kill the other person? It's a duel, so that's not a self-defense situation necessarily. And then, B, I've always taught my students, don't play the speed game. If you're in doubt, if there's a possibility that the other guy might be faster, then don't risk it. Always defend the first attack first. The first threat. Always defend that. And you could see that in jiu-jitsu. Okay, the person has you mounted, and then they're going for a cross-collar choke. What do? Do you escape the position? No, you defend the choke first. Okay, then try to escape the position because they could keep doing other attacks. So you want to escape the position ultimately, but first you got to defend the immediate threat, which is the cross-collar choke. Or if they're punching at you, you got to defend the punch first before escaping, before worrying about submissions. That's the first thing. Defend the immediate threat. So that's the same thing. If the other person, you feel like they're about to hit you with their weapon, can I pull out my knife first and take them out? Don't play the speed game. Because you never know. I don't know this person. They might be a former Olympic athlete. I don't know, or they might be on some kind of drugs, makes their reflexes faster. I really don't know, and I don't want to find out. So I don't play the speed game. I want to play the strategy game. And to me, the kinetic opening is more about strategy. So I like that. Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say. Very, very comfortable, robust handle. The knife is, like I said, a tank, so it makes sense for impact tool. The blade is nice and short, so I don't have to worry about, if I did accidentally or, they were on me and this went in, that, oh, did I just kill this dude? The chances of that is much less because it is a shorter knife, But can I cause a cut and then, maybe make them worry about this and that they'll stop? and then I could, we can call 911, call the ambulance for them, and I don't have to keep going. Why would I do that? Why would I put them in a position where they need to fight me, and we go worse and worse and worse situation, So if I could just cut them if I needed to, and then that makes them calm down, or that makes them go, oh crap, and they stop the attack. That's exactly what I need. I don't need to finish. That's a very small, rare situation where I would need to finish the person. So it's just in so many ways this makes sense. So I like the blade shape. The looks is awesome. It looks very cool. I like that it's unique. I don't want a knife that looks like every other knife out there. So I like that it's unique, but I also actually like the looks. I like the design and stuff. But everything's functional. And at the end of the day, I'm not here for a fantasy knife. I want something that's practical and functional. And as far as the strategy, once you understand the strategy, it all makes sense to me, and it all works with that. So once again, I feel like this is a very, very well thought out, well designed knife. I'm super impressed by it, and it's fascinating knife that was way ahead of its time. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.